Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. It is kind of a chilly Sabbath here. So today, I wanted to talk about this week's Torah portion. The Torah portion this week is about the story of Joseph. Joseph and his coat of many colors. And I would bet that most people that have no care at all about the Bible or the Father or anything know at least some of this story. It's a very popular one. It's one that every kid learns in Sunday school, growing up in church, and going regardless. It doesn't even matter. Christians, Jews, Catholics, everyone they all learn this story. So it's one that we know very well. And there's a lot you can get out of this story. But for this week, the thing that I wanted to talk about, the big thing that I get out of this story is that we have to learn to put our faith in His plan. And I have talked about this before, on our Shabbat videos. But it's something that I've struggled with in the past, and I still struggle with at times, of not having the faith, but learning to allow Him to have full control of my life and situation. I wanna be involved more. I wanna kind of, direct my paths a lot more. And there are times in our lives that we have to just step back and say, yeah, it's all you now. You've got to carry me through this. And I have learned that through some of the things that I have been through in my life. And some of them, can be very tragic. And we all probably have stories of these tragic, painful things that we go through in our lives. Things that we, find ourselves in hopelessness and despair and feel like we're just, ready to give up. And it's at those times that we have to turn everything over to Him and realize that He's carrying us through those times. It's an important lesson that we have to learn, and it's difficult, I think, for most people. I think most people have a lot of difficulty. They may have a strong faith, well-read, but then when they go through those troubled times, it's difficult for them to cast all their cares upon Him. It's difficult for them to just, turn it all over to Him and say, I can't handle this anymore. I'm going to do my best to keep pushing forward, but I can't handle this. And in the end, that's what we have to do. We have to just keep pushing forward. We have to, put our big boy pants on and realize that what I'm going through right now stinks. This is awful. I would wish that it could be anything but this right now. But it is the path that I'm on, and it's where He wants me to be for whatever reason, and we may never know the reason. But all I know I have to do is to continue to have faith in Him and continue to press forward. I have to keep pushing forward. And at the times in my life that I have found myself in those deep, dark shadows and valleys, when I thought I was going to give up and be hopeless, that's what I had to do. I had to just tell myself, I've got to push myself a little bit further. I've got to push myself a little bit more. Take one more step, and then one more step, and then one more step. And eventually you look back and you're like, wow, I've gone a mile. I've made it through the day. I made it through the next day. And we have to keep doing that because He has a plan in place. And most of the time, we have no clue what that plan is. And again, that's a very frustrating thing for most of us. We want to know what that plan is. We want a little insight. Can't you just tell me where this is headed? Why do I have to go through this and then not even know why? At least give me a heads up. At least kind of tell me, okay, eventually it's going to work out this way. It doesn't work that way usually. And look at Joseph. He was the favored son. And his brothers hated him. They, even contemplated killing him. I mean, they were going to kill him, except Reuben stood up and said, no, we can't kill him. And then they decided to sell him off Um, and he ends up in Egypt in slavery. And he's in prison. Well, at first he was a servant, then he ended up in prison. And you know that he had to just be sitting there thinking, I went from being treated as royalty. I mean, as his father's son, he was treated like he was royal. And I've tried to live a good life. I've tried to honor you and serve you, Father. And look where I'm at. I mean, like, can it get any worse? Like, why can't you hear me? And it's like many of the Psalms in David where he's, crying out, do you not hear me? Have you turned your back on me? I'm sure those thoughts were probably going through his mind. I mean, that's just human. And so he, just sat there. And guess what? Things changed. We all know the story. He ends up coming out of jail, and eventually the right hand of Pharaoh, who at that time was probably the most powerful person on this planet. So he's second to probably the most powerful person on this planet. He also was the one that ended up saving his family, saving, the children of Israel, which, led us down the path to where we're at today. And it was all part of his plan, so, of the Father's plan. So he had to go through all this trial, this tribulation, this turmoil, this sorrow, pain, anguish, embarrassment, loneliness, all these things that he had to endure to get finally to where he was. And I'm sure many times he probably wanted to give up. And there's probably times in your life that you want to give up, that you think you cannot make it. Maybe it's physical, emotional, mental, whatever it is. Some great loss in your life. And you think you cannot make it anymore. You think that I can't push myself anymore. Well, you can. You can push yourself just a little bit further. And when you push yourself a little further, take a breath, and then push a little bit further. And take a breath and push a little bit further and keep doing that. You're not alone when you do that. The Father promises us that, when we cross those rough and rapid waters, that He is there. He is there walking with us. He is there helping us across those rapid, rivers of life that are taking us over. He is like that firm foundation, that firm stone in those wild rivers of life. And He will get us through it. And in the end, He has a plan. And we have to stick to that plan. We have to stick to His plan. And sometimes sticking to it looks like you're just dredging through the deep waters or some deep tar pit, and you're barely able to make it. But as long as you keep pushing forward, keep your faith in Him, your eyes on the Father, you will make it, because He's there for us, and He's faithful to be there for us. And He's proven that in my life many, many times when I was just thought I was going to give up and not be able to make it anymore. I pushed myself a little further, and guess what? He was there the whole time. So regardless of where you're at in your life and what you're going through, and some of you may be going through some really tough times right now, I assure you, if you keep pushing forward, you will make it, because the Father is there. And regardless of what happens, trust that it's part of His plan. And it may not work out like you want. Many times it doesn't. But it's His plan, and we have to be faithful. We have to trust in His plan and what He has laid out in our lives. Because as much as we want what we want to happen in our lives, isn't it really better to desire what the Father wants in our lives? Because He knows better. It's like a little kid. Those of you that are parents, your kid, they want to do this. They just want to do this. It's what they want. But you know what's better for them. And that's exactly how we are. We know what we want. I want it this way. I just want it this way. But He knows what's better for us. So this week, when you think you're at your lowest and you think you can't make it anymore, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and push just a little bit harder that day and push yourself through it and make it to the end of the day. You can. And believe in him and trust in him and call out to him and ask for his help. That's what he's there for. David did it. All of the greats in the Bible, they all did that. At times that they were in their lowest, that they cried out to him, they called for him, and he was there, and he'll be there for you too. So don't give up. Don't lose hope. Keep pressing forward. Hope you guys have a wonderful, peaceful Shabbat. Thank you for watching. Shalom.